And some breaking news out of Hollywood. People magazine reports Oscar-winning actress Diane Keaton has died.
Seems like
She wasn't just an actress, she was a revolution in hats, in words, in love, and in heartbreak. From the awkward girl who struggled in school to the Oscar-winning legend who changed Hollywood forever. This is the untold story of Diane Keaton, her triumphs, her tragedies, and the legacy she left behind. You're watching American Spotlight. Hit subscribe because her journey is one you'll never forget. Diane Hall, later Diane Keaton, did not emerge from the stereotypical backdrop of abject Hollywood poverty, yet her early life was defined by a profound internal psychological instability and a driving ambition rooted in the complexities of her family structure, a dynamic as suffocating as any financial hardship. Raised in suburban Santa Ana, California, as the eldest of 4 children, her father, a civil engineer and real estate broker, and her mother, Dorothy, a regional Mrs. America winner, cultivated an environment where performance and perfection were inextricably linked to identity. This quiet domestic pressure, far removed from the sensationalism of street struggle, created its own unique kind of psychological duress. Keaton's personal conflict manifested not in poverty, but in a relentless pursuit of control over the self, culminating in a secret, devastating battle with bulimia in her 20s, a brutal form of self-imposed psychological challenge detailed much later in her memoir. This deeply personal, hidden instability became the crucible for her transformation. The emotional energy spent trying to manage this secret was the same force that fueled her desperate move to New York, where she felt compelled to seek not just fame, but validation and a singular identity separate from the Hall family construct. She openly confessed to seeking any audience, reflecting an underlying hunger for acknowledgement that eclipsed superficial ambition. This essential lack of internal stability, masked by her initial timid demeanor, ironically provided the raw, nervous energy that would soon captivate the New York theater scene. Her rejection of the family name in favor of her mother's maiden name, Keaton, was the first public declaration of this necessary, if internally turbulent, reinvention. The true conflict and foundation of Diane Keaton's professional empire began with her defining partnership with Woody Allen. Their initial meeting on the 1969 Broadway production of Play It Again, Sam was the genesis of a dynamic that was romantic, intellectual, and, for a time, creatively absolute. Allen recognized and immediately utilized the unique blend of nervousness, intellectual depth, and idiosyncratic charm that Keaton possessed. Their romance eventually ended, but the professional collaboration deepened, forming an almost singular creative entity that would revolutionize American comedy. This partnership reached its zenith with the 1977 masterpiece Annie Hall. The film was a cultural explosion, making Keaton, and the tailored, menswear-inspired look she cultivated, an international icon. However, the dynamics of this rise carried a hidden cost, a subtle conflict rooted in creative dependence and emotional control. Keaton's Annie Hall character was a direct distillation of her own nervous energy and style, filtered through Allen's directorial lens. She became the muse whose identity was intrinsically linked to her partner's vision. While there was no brutal divorce in the traditional sense, as they never married, their eventual split represented the agonizing professional and personal severance from the relationship that had created her cinematic persona. This separation was followed by a strategic move toward dramatic roles that challenged the Annie archetype, an internal conflict to establish her independence from the singular image that had defined her fortune. Following the defining Allen partnership, Diane Keaton entered a phase of high-voltage Hollywood relationships, most notably with Warren Beatty and Al Pacino, a chapter of her life that was less defined by addiction and chaos, and more by the tumultuous, competitive energy of two of Hollywood's most formidable leading men. Her time with Beatty, during the production of the epic Reds, 1981, was a period of professional elevation and public scrutiny. Beatty, a famously complex and intensely private figure, drew Keaton into his ambitious sphere, resulting in an Oscar-nominated performance that proved she could anchor a monumental historical drama. This relationship was less about public chaos and more about navigating the intense pressure of co-starring, co-creating, and coexisting with a cinematic visionary. The second major relationship, her decades-long on-again, off-again bond with Al Pacino, began on the set of The Godfather and spanned years, resurfacing around the production of The Godfather Part 3. This intense, non-committal relationship was marked by a heartbreaking separation stemming from their differing views on marriage and future commitment. Keaton, yearning for a stable, family-focused future, eventually recognized that Pacino, like the men before him, was fundamentally inaccessible. The heartbreaking separation was rooted in his inability or refusal to commit to marriage, leaving Keaton to make the decisive choice to prioritize her own path toward a stable family life, a separation that became the emotional precursor to her most significant personal decision: single motherhood. Unlike the mandated narrative, these separations were not defined by public addiction, but by the existential heartbreak of choosing independence over the allure of her dazzling but ultimately unavailable cinematic partners. The initial riskiest career move was arguably leaving New York theater for Hollywood, a transition that culminated not in a major Broadway triumph, but in the highest cinematic acclaim. Keaton's true career shift was the pivot from the nervous kook stereotype to a serious, dramatic actress capable of anchoring complex stories. This culminated in her audacious decision to step away from the Allen paradigm entirely to star in films like Looking for Mr. Goodbar, 1977, and the brutally honest divorce drama Shoot the Moon, 1982, with Albert Finney. The ultimate vindication of this courageous shift arrived not with a late career award, but with the Academy Award for Best Actress for Annie Hall. While the film was a comedy, the award solidified her critical acclaim as a leading dramatic talent, giving her the unparalleled professional leverage to pursue her own directorial and producing ambitions. She proved that the unique sensibility she brought to the screen was not an accident of muse, but the essence of a powerful, standalone talent, freeing her to explore areas of her craft previously unavailable to her. Keaton's mature career was not without its moments of intense media scrutiny and confrontation, though these rarely reached the level of high-profile lawsuits or widespread public scandals. The most notable scrutiny has revolved around the unrelenting public fixation on her aging process. Keaton actively pushed back against the rampant Hollywood pressure for perpetual youth, becoming a rare female star who consistently denied having undergone plastic surgery, telling media outlets that she hadn't pursued it but would never say never. This stance in itself generated intense media mocking and speculation in an industry obsessed with cosmetic perfection, positioning her as an accidental activist for natural aging. Far more concrete and lasting than any scandal is the immense and largely hidden success of her non-entertainment business ventures. Keaton became a formidable, self-taught architectural preservationist and real estate mogul. This was not merely a hobby, it was a highly profitable secondary career that generated a substantial portion of her over $100 million net worth. Keaton specialized in acquiring dilapidated, historically significant California mansions, often in the Spanish colonial, Mission Revival, or mid-century modern styles, meticulously renovating and restoring them, and then flipping them to wealthy buyers, including A-list celebrities like Madonna and producer Ryan Murphy. She repeatedly demonstrated an acute, almost prophetic eye for undervalued architectural gems. Keaton channeled her passion for architecture and aesthetics into successful ventures as an author. She published multiple acclaimed books, including California Romantica and House, which were not celebrity vanity projects, but detailed, serious photographic and analytical examinations of American residential architecture and interior design, establishing her as an influential figure in the design world. The deep emotional gravity of Keaton's personal life centered not on the death of a partner, as she never married, but on the enduring and profound impact of her immediate family's struggles. The most significant personal tragedies were the protracted decline and eventual death of her mother, Dorothy Keaton Hall, from Alzheimer's disease in 2008, and the long-term, devastating struggles of her younger brother, Randy. Keaton transformed her mother's illness and life into the basis of her critically acclaimed memoir, Then Again, in 2011, which intertwined her mother's personal journals with her own reflections. The memoir was a deeply emotional eulogy and public act of remembrance, detailing the quiet sacrifices her mother made and the slow public impact of the disease on their family. Even more affecting was the disclosure in her later book, Brother and Sister, detailing her brother Randy's lifelong battle with mental illness and alcoholism. This was Keaton's rawest emotional disclosure, a public sharing of a private family tragedy that placed her alongside countless others dealing with the heartbreak of a loved one's mental health crisis. These writings served as a profound emotional eulogy for lives shaped by difficulty, and they had a significant public impact, lending her previously guarded persona a new layer of vulnerable, relatable humanity. The final age-defying comeback for Diane Keaton was not a massive late-career album/tour, though she has performed publicly and has a pleasing singing voice, but the radical, deeply personal act of choosing late-life single motherhood and her subsequent dramatic, cinematic, and literary resurgence. At the age of 50, Keaton adopted her daughter Dexter in 1996 and later her son Duke in 2001. This was her definitive act of reinvention, choosing to create the stable family structure she longed for entirely on her own terms, rejecting the traditional Hollywood narrative that demanded a glamorous marriage. Commercially and technically, her cinematic comeback was marked by her Oscar-nominated, career-defining role in Nancy Meyers' Something's Gotta Give, 2003. The film's immense technical and commercial success lay in its validation of an entirely new demographic, the mature, intelligent woman as a romantic lead. Keaton was incandescent as Erica Berry, proving that complexity, style, and mature romance could be massive box office draws. The film's success technically validated her ability to command the screen opposite a legend like Jack Nicholson, securing her place as a perennial A-list actress in a youth-obsessed industry, and ensuring her career endured for decades longer than her peers. By mid-2025, Diane Keaton resided in Los Angeles, more precisely in the Brentwood area. She had long championed historic architecture, preservation of heritage buildings, and local activism in Los Angeles. Her lifestyle was a blend of public presence and guarded privacy. She walked her dog, engaged in artistic curation, tended to her property interests, and selected projects with care. In the final years, she continued acting, summer camp in 2024 being her last. She also remained active in writing, photography, and cultural advocacy. Her memoirs and published works continued to be read and debated. Her legacy, now crystallized, is formidable. Diane Keaton occupies a rare icon of reinvention status. She was not merely a Hollywood star, but a living argument against the erasure of women, aging, emotional interior life. She was a stylistic trigger: hat, tie, androgynous clothes. She made vulnerability chic. She redefined the notion of leading lady. She was not always glamorous. She was often frail, wounded, hilarious, human. Historically, Keaton will be remembered as one of the pillars of the new Hollywood era, as a woman who refused to be the sidekick in her own story. Her reflections on family, memory, loss, identity, aging have become a roadmap for actresses who follow. She bridged comedic and dramatic worlds, moved behind the camera, built a creative life on her own terms. Diane Keaton was never satisfied with being seen. She strove to be known by truth, by emotional risk, by refusal to fade. In her later years, Keaton has remained active in film, starring in mature comedies and dramas that celebrate female friendship and aging, such as Palms and Mac and Rita. Crucially, her current work also encompasses her roles as an author and curator of American design. She continues to write, produce, and advocate for architectural preservation, a quiet but deeply impactful activism that champions history and aesthetic individuality. Her enduring work ethic and creative output position her as a true Hollywood anomaly, a star who successfully built parallel, profitable careers outside the performance sphere. Diane Keaton's legacy is defined by the absolute triumph of authenticity and idiosyncrasy. She stands as the ultimate, accidental feminist icon of the new Hollywood era, proving that a woman could achieve the highest levels of professional and artistic success while rejecting the prescribed path. She is remembered as the singular figure who transformed the nervous, intellectual, and self-deprecating woman into a cultural aspiration. Her place in history is not merely as an Oscar winner, but as a genuine auteur of the self, an actress, director, photographer, author, and architectural preservationist whose refusal to conform, be it to marriage, plastic surgery, or cinematic convention, has codified her as a timeless symbol of fierce, uncompromised independence. Her story is the odyssey of a woman who didn't just play a character, but successfully built a life that became the ultimate, most memorable role of her career. On October 12, 2025, the world awoke to heartbreaking news. Diane Keaton had passed away in Los Angeles at the age of 79. Reports revealed that her health had declined very suddenly in the months leading up to her death. Those close to her spoke of unexpected frailty, but few anticipated how quickly the light of one of Hollywood's most enduring icons would be extinguished. Her passing sent shockwaves through the film industry. Headlines across the globe paid tribute. Hollywood loses its quirky queen. Diane Keaton, from Annie Hall to icon forever. Fans gathered outside New York's Ziegfeld Theater and Los Angeles's Chinese Theater, leaving flowers, handwritten notes, and copies of her books. Social media erupted with memories: her laughter in Annie Hall, her vulnerability in Marvin's Room, her radiant late-career renaissance in Something's Gotta Give. Within hours, tributes poured in from co-stars and collaborators. Al Pacino, her former partner, issued a brief but emotional statement. "She was my heart for many years. No one ever made me laugh the way she did." Woody Allen, visibly shaken, called her the bravest actor I ever worked with and the best friend I ever had. Jack Nicholson, frail but reflective, described her as a woman who could turn heartbreak into comedy and comedy into truth. At the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences headquarters, her image illuminated the entrance, Diane in her wide-brimmed hat, smiling knowingly. The Academy promised a full tribute at the next Oscar ceremony. Across television networks, her most iconic scenes replayed endlessly. Annie Hall saying, "La-di-da, la-di-da, la-la." Kay Corleone confronting Michael in The Godfather Part 2. Erica Berry weeping at her laptop in Something's Gotta Give. In Brentwood, where she had lived her final years, neighbors remembered her daily walks, her eccentric style, her warmth with children and dogs. In private, her adopted children Dexter and Duke mourned not only a mother, but a guiding star. A woman who, despite global fame, had made their small domestic world her greatest stage. Hollywood arranged a memorial service at the Dolby Theater, attended by generations of actors she had influenced. Meryl Streep spoke of her fearless honesty. Diane Lane said she owed her career path to Keaton's courage. And when the lights dimmed, a reel played of Diane's most unforgettable moments. Her awkward dances, her fierce monologues, her disarming smiles. By the end, the theater was silent, many in tears. Her death, though sudden, carried the weight of inevitability. For decades she had prepared us for the passage of time, for the fragility of memory. Her memoir, Then Again, had already read like a rehearsal for goodbye, a meditation on her mother's decline, on aging, on the transient beauty of life. But even in death, Diane Keaton remains indelible. Her legacy is not confined to her Oscar, her Golden Globes, or her AFI Life Achievement Award. It is larger than filmographies and accolades. It is in the way she redefined what it meant to be a woman in Hollywood, eccentric, vulnerable, stylish, and powerful on her own terms. It is in her refusal to be typecast, her insistence on aging visibly, her transformation from muse to master. Diane Keaton leaves behind films that will live for centuries, homes she restored to beauty, books that carry her voice, and a generation of women who saw in her permission to be themselves, flawed, authentic, unpolished, alive. She never stopped searching for the truth in laughter, in pain, in love, in memory. And though the curtain has fallen, the stage of cinema will forever echo with her presence. Diane Keaton is gone, but Diane Keaton will never truly leave us.